I wanted to do a commentary on this video. A client of mine had sent it to me as backup for the point that he was making about women and relationships. Let's hear what this man has to say, and I'll stop it and give my 2 cents worth and go from there.
I'd like to talk about what happens to a man's sense of reality, how it gets warped after every successive failed relationship where he keeps getting it wrong. He's told he's getting it wrong, and he believes he's getting it wrong because he's failed. Just think about what that does to a man going forward. And then after a while, when he can't seem to get it right, whatever he does, and when everything else in his life makes more and more sense as he gets older, except for women, what do you think he gives up on?
Well, okay, my immediate sense is that he's very cynical, and I'm not sure what women have done to this man, but that just seems really, really harsh to me right there. And it also makes me wonder what kind of women he's been hanging out with.
Well, in short, the thing that keeps warping is reality. In my last video, I talked about how hopeless men are at reading women's supposed signs.
Okay, to some extent that's true. Men can be a little bit hopeless that way. But then men don't tend to pay attention to certain details. I would encourage men to start to just notice and become a little more observant of the opposite sex and realize that, women don't think like men and vice versa. Women need to do this too. Women tend to think that men think like they do as well. I do think men can learn how to read women. So I get what he's saying here.
Most of the time they don't even send them, so much so that when other women watch videos of women sending out their signals, they can't pick them up themselves. So what chance do men have? And I was thinking about how it warps a guy's sense of reality time after time when he fails at doing something that's supposedly supposed to be easy to see, except for you dummy.
Okay, that's not entirely fair. Human beings in general are not always easy to read. It's terribly unfair to expect men or women to read signals from somebody that they don't know very well. You do have to be extremely sensitive and observant to do that with any type of accuracy when you don't know the person.
For his ability to trust his own judgments. And then to make sense of his world, he'll focus on things that do make sense to his judgment and do adhere to reality, where his sense of reality isn't warped. It's funny that when it comes to today's romantic relationships, that tends to make a man doubt his own judgment, his own cognition, his own choices, his own decisions, even if he's actually doing what he's told.
Yes, I agree with this man 100% on this. Women have become much more unreasonable, and society in general has become more unreasonable. And it's designed that way to make men more insecure and to make them question themselves. So let's see what else he has to say.
If he's jumping through the hoops he's told to jump through, even if he's told to be a nice guy, he's following the script to a T. Somehow it's upside down.
He's absolutely correct this way. It is meant to sow seeds of doubt in a man's mind about himself, about life. It makes a man weaker to constantly be confused and to be unsure of himself. But men in particular like to feel like they are reaching a goal, that they are being forthright and moving forward to the next step. When a man doesn't feel like that, it does rattle him and it keeps him off center. And it just seems like a lot of things nowadays are set up to make him feel that way.
For a while, a man sort of realizes that in that situation, it's either down to luck or he's just awful at playing the game and better to give up and give attention to the side of his life that does make sense.
I get it, but giving up is never a good idea. I mean, if you're a straight man and you want to have relationships with women, you got to figure this out. And we see far too many men just sort of backing off and giving up and going to do things that they know they can do, the hobbies or work or whatever else.
that doesn't make him doubt his reality, that makes him confident in his judgments, where 2 + 2 = 4. It's funny when I see these men watching female dating coaches giving advice of, when a woman says this, she means this.
Okay, that's dumb. If a female coach, relationship coach, is giving you information like that, it's so superficial. Can we get past the superficial with relationships? Because it just doesn't work very well.
Or when a woman displays this, she's meaning this. All these mixed signals, where yes means no means maybe, is frankly hypocritical, coming from the half of the species that complains to men that we don't communicate.
Yes, it is hypocritical, and it's plain dumb.
The way I see it is, if something's important to your life, you take it seriously. Otherwise, others won't. How can you expect them to? As you pass the halfway point of your life and time becomes precious, you don't have time to waste on unsolvable female puzzles anymore.
Look, this gentleman's a nice-looking man, very attractive. Love the lighting on the video, by the way. It's very awesome. And he looks to be maybe in his 50s. I'm in my 50s as well. I get where he's coming from, but it's such a defeatist attitude. Not all women are like that. Not all women are hypocritical and nag. They aren't. And I know there's more of them now, but not all of them are.
A friend told me an analogy once that dating women today is like dating them in an Inception world where everything's warping, dreams within dreams.
Okay. I kind of get it.
If women keep relying on men to read their signals, women aren't direct on exactly knowing what they want. You still see it on dating sites. They either don't write anything, they don't like being asked, what are you looking for? They want to stay vague because their monkey branching instinct doesn't want to lose out. Depending on the guy in front of them, they might be open to something casual, or they might be wanting to get married.
Okay, that's a good point. I don't use dating sites, but I think that's interesting what he just said, that they're sort of keeping their options open and they don't want to get too specific, which is not the way it used to be. It used to be that women were encouraged to know exactly what they wanted in a man, and that way she could attract it.
And sometimes women's ambiguity and evasiveness and supposed signals they're sending are actually the opposite of what they're wanting. But they want to be so indirect to have some sort of plausible deniability that they go about it in a very convoluted way. As an example, I remember one ex saying to me, "Oh, can you believe my ex-boyfriend wanted to have a threesome with me and another woman?" And later I found out it was actually her wanting to see how I'd react to that story because it was actually something she wanted as a fantasy. But she made up as though her ex wanted the fantasy just to gauge my judgment whether I would think it would be crazy or I would chuckle and think it's kind of sexy. But this kind of avoid...
Okay. Men have been gaslighting women for years. It doesn't make it right when a woman does it to a man. That's just a jerk thing to do. So no gaslighting for anybody, from women toward men or men toward women. I think we can agree on that.
Responsibility in a convoluted story to gauge the reaction of the guy, and then you'll decide where you stand. It's worse than being evasive. It's actually obtuse. The time I think women aren't openly honest or even showing up as themselves on dates. They're being silent, reading the guy if they like them, and then just mirroring him, or being vague and effectively just hiding and seeing if they can covertly stay in the relationship as they allow themselves over time, once you're in a relationship, to come out of their shell. Gentlemen, don't spend any more time than you have to with these evasive, signal-sending, aloof, quiet women where you don't know what they stand for. They don't want to talk about their past, their exes, their beliefs, their values. And if you date, force the woman sitting across...
Okay, yes, I totally 100% agree with that. Don't waste your time with women like that.
...from you to open up, to be honest. And if you date, force the woman sitting across from you to open up, to be honest. If she...
Yes, exactly.
...doesn't want to, then let the boys and bad boys use and abuse them.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, that's one way of looking at it. It doesn't need to be that vindictive. You can just cut her loose.
It can be your problem, not if you want an honest and whole person. Let cats put up with these women, not you. Imagine stumbling into a relationship or marrying this type of vague, game-playing, aloof, mind-reading female. What do you imagine your grasp on reality will be like growing old with this person, walking on eggshells? What do you imagine your cortisol levels will be like? Skyrocketing. Your health, your blood.
That's assuming you let it get to you. You could use it as an opportunity to find yourself more deeply and stay more centered. Would it be difficult? Yes. But, gentlemen, you have the choice to leave somebody like that. If you're forced to stay with them, if you're truly forced to stay with them, then use it as an opportunity to not let external events or people, no matter how annoying they are, to rock your center. It's extremely difficult to do, but if you consistently work at it, you'll find that you will become a lot wiser and stronger for your efforts.
Pressure, heart disease, your hair falling out, always looking 10 to 20 years older than what you actually are, needing to spend more and more time away from her in the shed in the backyard because that's about the only place where reality makes sense on your own. I'd be interested to know your thoughts, gentlemen. What do you think happens to a man's sense of reality if generally the women out there being passive, not saying what they want, expecting you to talk all the time and be honest about your convictions, but they can remain aloof, you having to read her signals, getting it wrong? What happens time after time where no matter how much you try honestly to read signals, what does it do to a man's sense of reality?
If you're putting up with that for more than a few minutes with women, I don't know why you're hanging out with women like this. Like, this man makes it sound like men are spending so much time and effort with women who don't give them an inch on anything. What's the point? Then sure, go to your shed and work on your hobby by yourself. I would too. But if you want to connect with a woman, get more savvy about who you choose to spend your time with.
I'd like to kind of hear your thoughts and any of your experiences, if this has actually affected you over time, and whether or not that's a reason why you or you see other men giving up and saying it's not worth it because my sense of reality is far better away from women than playing their games that they can't even read, and they can't even read their own signals, that drive them nuts.
Come on now. You're just going to give up on women as a whole. You're a straight man. Just going to give up instead of get stronger and wiser and more perceptive? Really? Because good women are out there. It's worth developing yourself as a man to find those type of women. I promise you.